I fell in love with my best friend, and her ex-boyfriend hurt me in the worst way. This all happened exactly 4 years ago today, and it still weighs heavily on my heart. I was 24 at the time, and my best friend was 26. I had fallen deeply in love with her. Her ex-boyfriend, who was 31, was someone I looked up to as a mentor. We were both artists, and he taught me so much. I thought I could trust him. My friend and I had just started dating, and I was over the moon, but we both knew we had to keep our relationship a secret from him. It felt wrong, like a ticking time bomb, but we couldn't stop ourselves. One night, after a conversation with her about how we couldn't keep hiding, I went to a bar where our friend group often gathered. He was there and told me he was still talking to her, that they were still together, and he was sending her money. I believed him, and it made me furious. He began buying me drink after drink, and I got far too drunk. When I woke up the next day, I had a vague and horrifying memory of what had happened. I didn't know for sure until I asked him. He had flirted with me that night, and out of anger, I had flirted back. He came home with me, and when I told him to leave, he refused and came into my bed. I don't remember the details of what he did, but I woke up in pain, bleeding and bruised. My room was a mess, everything scattered across the floor, and my pride flag had been torn down. The next day, I had to ask him what happened. He said, "You need to learn to commit to what you agree to." I'll never forget that. As I've continued to process this, that statement has confirmed to me that it was non-consensual. I pieced together the events bit by bit, and it wasn't until a friend sat me down that I truly understood it was rape. When I told my friend about what happened, I thought she would understand that he had lied and that I never wanted to be with him. Instead, she cut me out of her life completely. I loved her so much, and I never expected to lose her. It turned out he had hepatitis and knew it. Thankfully, I didn't contract it, but I had to get tested after finding out. The whole experience feels more and more like pure revenge the further I get from it. Today marks the 4th anniversary of that night, and while it feels distant, it still haunts me. What troubles me most is the feeling that it's my fault, my moral failing. I know it's not entirely my responsibility, but a part of me still believes I should have seen it coming. I struggle to even say the word rape, fearing I'll always wrestle with this pain. I want to clarify that when he told me they were still talking, it was a lie. I believed him in that moment, thinking she was secretly seeing both of us. He claimed he already knew about our relationship, but I wish I could remember that conversation better. I don't think we did a good job of keeping it a secret, so he might have been suspicious all along. Just how? I was bullied by teachers and recently found out why. I became a teacher 4 years ago, and as a new educator, I was excited to collaborate with my colleagues. I quickly bonded with the teachers in my small department, Regina, Gretchen, and Karen. We shared meals, attended each other's events, and I felt lucky to be part of such a supportive team. But shortly after the holiday break, I noticed Regina began avoiding me. She dismissed my lesson ideas, and the others quietly agreed with her. At first, I thought she was just having a rough time, but as the months passed, the atmosphere became increasingly uncomfortable. I dreaded waking up each day, knowing I had to go to a place where I felt unwelcome. When the new school year started, I hoped for a fresh start. I thought perhaps the previous year's stress had affected their behavior. Unfortunately, I was wrong. Regina ignored me even more, engaging with Gretchen and Karen while leaving me out of conversations. I started hiding in the library to escape the anxiety of being in the office. One day, while I was in the library, Karen found me and mentioned that the department was throwing a birthday party for Regina. I decided to contribute by bringing bagels, wanting to be a team player. But when I arrived at the party, it felt as if I wasn't even there. I stood in the corner, tears welling in my eyes as I realized I was unwanted. Regina and Gretchen ignored me completely, and I felt a part of me break that day. From then on, I avoided the office altogether, choosing to work in the library where I felt safe. Fast forward to now, I've grown accustomed to my routine. Recently, Karen approached me and apologized for not standing up for me when Regina and Gretchen were unkind. I was taken aback. I had thought I was imagining their treatment, but Karen revealed that they had been targeting me on purpose for years. She explained that it all stemmed from a school event where I accidentally gave the wrong change to a student. Regina claimed I could have gotten her in trouble, and from that moment on, I was dead to her. Gretchen, wanting to align with Regina, joined in on the bullying. All of this over a minor mistake that had been resolved that same night. What's even more ironic is that Karen is now facing similar treatment from Regina and Gretchen. It's a strange twist of fate, knowing we teach our students to stand against bullying and to resolve conflicts peacefully. Life has a way of revealing the truth, doesn't it? For 3 years, I switched my partner's tea in the morning because I couldn't deal with his fake snobbery. When my ex and I started dating, I made him a morning cup of tea as a sweet gesture. It became a routine for the 3 years we were together. It's a small thing that can brighten someone's day and a nice way to learn how they like things. My morning tea was simple. Any old tea bag, usually Yorkshire tea if it was on sale, a splash of milk, and the first cup always had a teaspoon of sugar. My ex, however, had a very specific ritual. He insisted on Compson's Punjana tea, a teaspoon of milk, and absolutely no sugar. He was convinced he could tell right away if it wasn't his favorite. At 33, he had never liked any other tea than Fortnum and Mason's Royal Blend. At first, when he stayed over, I entertained this notion and made his tea just the way he liked it. He would thank me and tell me I made the best cups of tea. It was sweet, and making it 3 times a week felt manageable. But as time went on, he started spending nearly every day at my place. His demands for his morning ritual grew, and as a student, I couldn't keep affording that brand of tea. What was wrong with PG Tips or any non-branded supermarket tea? Tea is tea after all. So I began making his cup with any tea bag, a teaspoon of milk, and no sugar. I always made it when he was in the shower or still in bed, so he wouldn't catch me. Initially, he was suspicious, always asking if it was Thompson's Punjana. After a few trials with different teas, I found the right one where he couldn't taste the difference. I would sip it with him and listen as he went on about how you could taste the quality, and that there was really no other tea like it. When we moved in together, it became harder to disguise my secret. I was studying at college, so I controlled the weekly food shopping and wanted to minimize costs. I would buy 1 bag of his tea and 2 bags of mine each week, keeping them in the drinks cupboard. In the mornings, I'd take 1 of his tea bags and give him 1 of mine instead. I even shared his tea with my tutors at college. He would comment that I ran out of my tea bags faster because of the quality, claiming that, with Punjana, 1 bag lasted a long time. Little did he know. This went on for a couple of years, and I never told anyone out of fear he would find out. After all, he couldn't tell, so why ruin the fun? It saved me money, and it was amusing. I never let him make a cup of tea unless I was away, so he never had to find out. After we split up, we remained good friends. Every time I visited our old flat, he would ask me to make a cup of tea like I used to, reminiscing about how everyone he dated after me could never make it taste the same. He even said that when he made it himself with Punjana, he could never get it right, and that I was some sort of special tea maker. I still haven't told him. So, to sum it up, my ex played up his fussiness with tea. I switched his morning cup to a much cheaper tea bag, and he never noticed the difference. I secretly hope my buddy never finds a girlfriend. My friend John is a self-described kissless virgin. At 26, he's never had a girlfriend or even been on a date. He often makes self-deprecating jokes about it, but in private, he confides in me that he's genuinely worried about his future. He feels like he's running out of time to find someone special. Despite his efforts, he can't figure out why he's still single. I want nothing more than for him to be happy. But I know the reasons behind his struggles. John is a great friend, but he has a hard time approaching women romantically. He's terrified of rejection and has low self-esteem. When he does muster the courage to ask for a girl's number, he often gets turned down, which sends him into a depressive spiral for weeks. I suggested online dating, thinking it might help him. My first 2 relationships started in school, but my current girlfriend and I met online. I figured it could work for him too, especially since the matching system would eliminate some of the uncertainty. But since he started using the apps, he hasn't gotten a single date, while I've had multiple. He constantly compares our experiences, which only deepens his despair. When we talked about his approach, he mentioned that he assumes he'll get to talk to a girl he likes. So when he doesn't receive a match, he takes it personally. I tried to explain that just because he likes someone doesn't mean they'll reciprocate, but he struggles to grasp this concept. It's as if he's so starved for attention that he builds up unrealistic expectations and feels hurt when they aren't met. We've all tried to tell John that he needs to be more patient and manage his expectations, but he insists he's not desperate, just lonely. The truth is, he comes off as desperate. When we offer advice to help him shift his mindset, he gets defensive. John isn't unattractive, but he doesn't make the best choices. He lives with his parents, works an entry-level retail job, and has no plans to improve his situation. He neglects his appearance, letting his hair grow wild and only shaving it off every few months. He often asks, "What am I doing wrong?" But when we point out his habits, he reacts defensively. I genuinely think he could benefit from seeing a therapist, but he dismisses that idea too. He's very vocal about his opinions, even when they're in the minority. Despite hearing advice from the 3 women in our friend group, he refuses to accept it because it doesn't align with his views. It's ironic. He's confident about trivial matters, but lacks confidence where it truly counts. He'll defend misguided opinions with certainty, yet when we offer him guidance on attracting women, he perceives it as a personal attack. In one conversation, he revealed how he truly sees things. He believes he's been betrayed by the world and that it's the modern woman's fault for his single status. He views women more as obstacles to conquer than as partners to share life with. He feels entitled to someone, despite not putting in the work to deserve it. For these reasons, I hope he never finds a girlfriend. Initially, I felt sorry for him and wanted to help, but as time goes on, I'm seeing his true colors. He doesn't view women as equals. He wants someone to serve him. I fear he'll never change, and I don't want any woman to bear the burden of his misguided beliefs. There's no fixing him. Some assembly required. Good luck. This happened several years ago when I was the night charge nurse over the ICU. After a long 12-hour shift that turned into 14 hours due to a rapid response right before shift change, I was exhausted. All I wanted was to grab some items for my slow cooker so I'd have something to eat later. I stopped at a well-known big box store that sells everything from groceries to clothes. I was still in my royal blue scrubs, wearing my RN badge and my stethoscope hanging around my neck. As I approached the store, I noticed an elderly couple struggling to load a large box into their SUV. They looked to be in their 90s, with shaky hands and limited mobility. I quickly offered to help, and they gladly accepted. I managed to load their TV with little difficulty while chatting with the woman, who explained it was a gift for their son. I wondered why no store employee was assisting them when suddenly I was interrupted. A woman in her 50s, dressed in a cheap beige pantsuit, called out to me from about 15 feet away. With her hand on her hip, she demanded, "If you are about done, I need help over here." She pointed to her cart filled with boxes of bookshelves. It dawned on me that she thought I worked there. I tried to explain, "Oh, sorry, I don't work here." But she cut me off, saying, "You're already making me late. Just get it done, and don't scratch my paint." The elderly lady and I exchanged bewildered looks. I tried again, "I don't work here," but she interrupted once more, insisting I help her. As she turned away to dig through her purse, the cart mulled away, and one of the wheels went off the curb. In an instant, the cart toppled over, spilling the boxes onto the pavement. I instinctively jumped forward to help, but it was too late. The woman turned and saw her boxes scattered everywhere. She completely lost her temper, yelling, "What are you doing? Pick them up. You owe me new bookshelves." At that moment, I had enough. I shouted back, "Pick them up yourself. I don't work here." As I turned to walk away, she grabbed my sleeve and tried to yank me back. I pulled away and faced her, now furious. "Don't touch me. I do not work here, and even if I did, I wouldn't help you clean up your mess." She stood there, speechless, her mouth opening and closing in disbelief. Just then, the manager and an employee appeared. The woman quickly turned to the manager, claiming, "This man damaged my bookshelves and is refusing to pay for them." I was stunned. Did she really think anyone would believe that? Thankfully, the elderly gentleman I had helped earlier stepped in and explained the situation to the manager. The manager realized the truth and apologized to me and the couple. As I stood there, watching the manager deal with her, I noticed the boxes were not damaged. He offered her replacements, but she refused, saying she was already late because of me. She glared at me as the manager and employee loaded her boxes into her car. As I turned to enter the store, the elderly lady I had helped earlier stopped me. "Thank you so much for helping us with the TV. I'm sorry some people are so rude." She reached for my hand to shake, but then whispered, "Don't look yet. Wait till she leaves." I felt something in her palm as she folded her hands around mine. After she walked away, the woman got into her car and drove off without a word. Once inside the store, I reached into my pocket and pulled out a plastic bag filled with screws and hardware. I realized the sweet old lady had taken advantage of the commotion to snag the hardware from the woman's ripped box. I couldn't believe it. A huge grin spread across my face as I continued my shopping, feeling like I had a new petty revenge hero to admire. AITA for keeping my website up after being asked to remove it. Back in November 2018, I was arrested at work in front of my boss and coworkers. It was one of the most humiliating experiences of my life. When I got to the police station, I learned I was being charged with multiple felonies, which completely blindsided me. Thankfully, I managed to stay calm and hired a criminal defense attorney instead of talking to the detective. I spent my entire savings of $13,000 on legal fees, which left me unable to pay my bond. As a result, I ended up spending 54 days in jail. At a status hearing, my attorney presented video evidence showing I was 3 hours away from where the crimes occurred, and all my charges were dismissed. When I finally got out, I discovered I had lost my job, was facing eviction, and my son was in the state's care. His mother struggles with addiction, and I hadn't spoken to my parents in nearly 15 years. They wouldn't allow my son to stay with my girlfriend because they didn't consider her family. Since my release, I learned that I couldn't sue the police, and no one seemed to care that I had been locked up for over a month due to poor investigative work. I reached out to the local press, but they told me that what happened to me was not uncommon. They took down my information, but never followed up. So, I created a website to share my story, including the police report and other documents. The only reason I was arrested was because an eyewitness mistakenly identified me. If the detective had done his job, he would have verified my alibi. Now my website ranks number 2 on the first page of search results for my town. I live in a tourist area, and my web traffic has skyrocketed, which seems to have caught the attention of someone important recently. I received a cease and desist letter, which I showed to my attorney. He assured me that sharing my experience online isn't illegal and everything I wrote is either factual or my opinion, protecting me from a defamation lawsuit. Yesterday, 2 officers and the detective who arrested me visited me. He offered an apology, saying mistakes can happen. They then asked me to take down my website. I told them I would consider deleting it if the detective left his job and never worked in law enforcement again. Unsurprisingly, that's not happening. After their visit, I felt even more frustrated. The detective's apology seemed insincere, aimed only at getting me to remove my website. I don't plan to delete it, and my girlfriend is my only supporter in this. My friends think I'm being spiteful and suggest I just take it down. So, AITA for keeping my website up. Venus Noise possible stalker update. Found something disturbing that is messing with my head. Hi everyone. I posted a while back in December about some strange happenings in my friends in my apartment. Since then, I've taken a few steps to figure things out. First, I searched every corner of our place and didn't find anything unusual. I even bought a hidden camera and bug detector, but came up empty. I've been sleeping with 2 guns in different rooms, just in case something happens. For about a month, everything seemed fine. We almost forgot about the weirdness. Then we started hearing a strange noise outside, like a buzzing or humming sound coming from the back of the house near the bathroom window. I told my friend not to worry. It was probably just the usual noises houses make. One night, while smoking a cigarette, I decided to check it out. When I walked around the house, I noticed a metal bench that hadn't been there before. It was placed right under our bathroom window, perfectly positioned for someone to peek inside. I snapped a picture of it because it felt unsettling. When I stood on the bench, I realized it gave a clear view through the old curtain. Both of us had felt uneasy while showering or using the toilet, as if we were being watched. I sent the picture to our landlord, who said they didn't own the bench, so it must have been left by previous tenants. But I knew it wasn't there in December when I did my thorough search. This really creeped me out. Who could have put it there without us noticing? We rarely go to that side of the house, and my roommate has never even seen it. That night, I moved the bench away from the window and flipped it upside down to see what would happen. A week later, it was back in its original spot, right side up. So, we set up cameras around the exterior of the house. They cover the front porch, the driveway, and the little back alleyway where the bench is located. The motion sensor floodlight sometimes goes off at odd hours, and I usually thought it was just animals. But the alleyway can be accessed from the street without being seen on camera. Now, it's a waiting game. I really hope this is just a strange coincidence, but if there's actually someone lurking around, I'm ready to confront them. This whole situation is nerve-wracking, and I can't shake the feeling that something is off. Gave my friend access to my Instagram page, and they ruined everything. For 4 years, I had been running a small but successful Instagram page. One of the perks of this was receiving collaboration offers, which often granted me easy access to events and sponsor passes. A while back, my friend asked for the login credentials, claiming he wanted to help out. I had previously offered him a chance to manage the page when I got busy, but he showed no interest in the actual work. Still, I gave him access with the strict condition that he wouldn't reply to messages or change anything. He agreed. Fast forward to a couple of months ago, my friend entered a relationship and suddenly wanted to impress his girlfriend by using my sponsor passes for events. Since I wasn't much of a party goer, I had been giving him my extra passes freely. The trouble began when he started demanding that I send formal collaboration requests to every event organizer just so he could score more passes. I explained that it looked spammy and unprofessional, and that wasn't how my collaborations worked. He then criticized the page, claiming it didn't look good compared to competitors, and insisted on revamping the bio and account structure to send out proposals. I told him that if he wanted to do that, he could do it from his personal email on behalf of the page, but he refused. He also ignored my requests for help with the actual work. Despite my clear instructions of no and do not touch the page settings, he waited until I went to sleep and made the changes anyway. The next morning, I woke up to find the entire bio structure altered, the style changed, and collaboration request messages sent to various event companies. I quickly deleted the messages and reverted the changes, but a few days later, Instagram suspended my account without explanation. When I told my friend about the suspension, he showed no remorse and had no interest in helping me recover it. He had already logged out and distanced himself from the problem. Before the suspension, I had asked him to help me compile a list of organizers and companies involved in event management. He ignored my texts or replied that he would do it when he had time. After the suspension, I visited his home and asked why he wasn't helping. He claimed he wanted to assist but didn't know how to create the file. I took the time to explain everything, and he said he would do it now that he understood. During our conversation, he asked, "Why do you want a list now if you have no page? Are you making a new one?" I didn't explain my reasons, but I left expecting him to handle it. Days passed, and despite multiple reminders, he hadn't made a single entry or created the file. After much effort, I finally managed to get the account restored. Naturally, I changed all the passwords. My friend immediately asked for the new credentials. Not wanting a confrontation, I told him a little white lie. I said I could only be logged in on one device for the next 6 months due to security issues. Recently, he went to a popular event. Before going, He saw a promotional post for it on my page and asked if I was collaborating with them. I lied and told him I wasn't. Normally, he would invite me to tag along, but this time he went without asking. Ironically, I actually had sponsor passes for that specific event because I was collaborating with them. Since he didn't bother to invite me, and considering he had changed my page bio and structure, refused to help me fix the mess, and didn't send me the file, I decided not to offer him the passes and kept them for myself. I felt a little strange about it, but I believed I was justified.